Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim. And thank you all so much for all the love and support. Hope you all are doing great. So today we'll be talking something very important, and it's about a video that I really found very interesting. And it's really amazing how they are doing everything in their possible power to make sure that Black people do not rise, and in so many ways. Because all of a sudden, I think Duke University ends full ride scholarship program for select Black students in wake of affirmative action ruling. And a lot of people actually thought this is more like a plant something. You all know that anything or anywhere they see Black people benefiting from, there is always questions about it and all that. Number one is that I am sure that they really do not want to see you all grow and do better for yourself. So for that reason, all they look for a way to do is look for a way to cut some certain things, especially when it comes to the Black people and all that. You all forget that affirmative action and all that. All of a sudden they said Black people are we are the ones benefiting more from affirmative action, but the people benefiting more are all out there screaming Black people, and the Asians also thought we are also the ones stopping them from going to Harvard University and some other places, and all of a sudden they decided to stop affirmative action, which also stopped, and it was also that time that they found out that they just shot themselves in the legs and all that. We are all fine. If you all think we are the cause of your problem, I think you all really need to sit down very well and ask yourself some certain questions and the rest of it. You know what? Let's get into this video.
Attention, please. Now, y'all, isn't it strange and rather ironic that in this country they will blame near everything on diversity, equity, and inclusion? I mean, it's the root of all of this country's problems, according to the White Hooded Party. I mean, y'all, they are out here saying that because of diversity, equity, and inclusion, there will be more plane crashes. Because, Black pilots somehow or another are just incompetent to fly planes. And y'all, not to mention that they want to act like the white ones don't have crashes. Somehow or another, that just doesn't exist. And now, y'all, there is an attack on the medical field. Take a listen as Republican Greg Murphy from North Carolina, y'all, he is the prime sponsor of a bill that would cut off federal funding to medical schools that have diversity, equity, and inclusion offices. Now, tell me you anti-Black without actually telling me you anti-Black. But don't believe me. Just watch. Press play.
Then charged with educating and training their doctors to be the most competent and excellent in their fields. In the past, students were admitted based upon merit, excellence, and aptitude. Sadly enough, those days are changing. DEI, the so-called diversity, equity, inclusion theology, is sowing mistrust in the field where trust is so reliant. And so when it comes down to patient care, DEI can even lead to harmful, if not deadly, consequences. Guys, this is medical school. It is not art school. It is not English school. It is medical school. As Dr. Ben Carson, whom you all know, the Black neurosurgeon, said about medical school, putting aside merit, instead of emphasizing qualities like race, sex, religion, and all others, by putting aside merit, we hear only that can endlessly cost people their lives.
Well, that's enough of the bigotry and the racism. Let's just cut to the chase, y'all, and get down to the facts. Now, we know about 5.7, or we'll go ahead and round that thing off to a even crisp 6% of the U.S. doctors are Black or African American. And that's roughly half of the percentage of the United States Black population. And now, we already know that there can be limited access to care and resources within the medical system, especially when it comes to Black and brown people. And we also know for a fact that when it comes to Black people, y'all, we have been historically excluded from medicine, not to mention the institutional and systemic racism within our society. Now, you see, I got questions, and y'all, I need to know the answers. When it came to the mortgage crisis, was that diversity, equity, and inclusion? Now, what about the auto industry? I mean, when they needed to be bailed out, was that diversity, equity, and inclusion? Now, what about the airlines when they needed to be bailed out? I mean, was that because of diversity, equity, and inclusion? And now, what about Boeing? Because you know that they airplanes are straight trash right now. Hell, they falling out the sky damn near left and right. But my question is that because of diversity, equity, and inclusion? And what about the Flint water crisis? I mean, was that because of diversity, equity, and inclusion? Now, what do all of these things have in common? Ding, ding, ding. You guessed it. White men. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's facts over feelings. Now, what's even more crazier, y'all, is that these colleges and universities, they sure don't have a problem with all that diversity, equity, and inclusion running up and down on their football fields on Saturday afternoons and nights. Now, do they? But somehow or another, y'all, it's a problem Monday through Friday. Now, y'all, the problems that we have in this country, it ain't because we're diverse and inclusive. Actually, it's quite opposite. It's because we ain't. And the last time I checked, y'all, we ain't the ones leading this country. Now, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and critical race theory, and affirmative action, you see, ain't none of those ever been the problem. It's individuals that look like this. But you see, they have to blame somebody. Because when these leaders look in the mirror, they don't particularly like what they see. And those would be facts on facts on facts on top of facts.
Duke ends a full-ride scholarship program for select black students in wake of affirmative action ruling. Now, this is nothing new. This is nothing new. DEI is a current boogeyman for so many things, but it makes me think of something. That scholarship that was pulled for black students, it's a merit-based scholarship. So in addition to being black, they have to still earn it based off of grades, extracurriculars, et cetera, et cetera. There's nothing being removed for scholarships for any other marginalized identity. Legacy students, their policies haven't changed. It is just for black students. And I'm sharing this with you. We've talked about anti-blackness. We've talked about how evergreen it is and how it's everywhere and it permeates so much. We've talked about that. And this is just yet another example. And I'm sharing this with you because now we've got a couple bookends on this conversation with anti-blackness, especially when it comes to education. That's where the bookends are. We've got Duke University that has made the decision to pull this scholarship that was designated for black students that, again, they had to earn based off of their meritocracy. And then we have the other story that we talked about where you have the people that are wanting to sue because they feel that the requirements for the George Floyd Memorial Scholarship are discriminatory since it's designed for black students. And I want people to pay attention to what's happening, especially non-black people and more specifically white people. There is a concerted effort to keep people from being educated. And what is happening, what we're seeing happening is the way that white supremacy gets to sneak in there and find those little loopholes and make it that now in order to keep people educated, it's not just taking away things that are in the lesson plans or things that are actually in the school. They're doing things to try to keep people out of schools, period, to keep black people out of schools, period. And before anybody says it, this is not to say that black students won't go to school. I am saying that a layer of protection that was there or a layer of assistance that was there is being stripped away to then make it that much harder for black students to be in college.
Before you watch this, go and watch Portia's video, and I'm going to expand on what she said. So what I'm going to be talking about has less to do with race and more to do with math. But before I talk about that, I just wanted to say that the scholarship that got rid of at Duke was the Reggie Howard Scholarship. He was the first black student body president at Duke University. I mention that because I think it's important that you know how that scholarship came into being. Now, here's where the math comes in, and it's important to note that scholarships and money are both finite. And to illustrate what I'm talking about, I'm going to be using a very simple example just to make the math easier. So let's say you have a small private college and you have a single scholarship that is open for 10 people, and the total amount is $500,000. So that means that 10 people get $50,000 for college. Now, when you take into account the percentages of the U.S. population, 71% of this country is Caucasian or white, and 13% is African American or black. And to make the math even easier, let's call that 7 to 1. So for every 7 white students, you have 1 black student. And let's say this college has an enrollment of 10,000 people, and all 10,000 are going to be applying for the scholarship. That means 7,000 applicants are going to be white and 1,000 applicants are going to be black. So just based on that ratio alone, you stand almost a zero chance of getting that scholarship if you are black. Again, because scholarships and money are finite resources. Again, this is just based on population. This has nothing to do with merit or financial need, which I believe are other things that need to be factored in when you're creating a scholarship. So if you're going to have scholarships that are open to everyone and not taking into account the percentages of the population, minority students are always going to be at a disadvantage for getting those scholarships. And more often than not, they're going to be the ones who need them most. So at the very least, if you are going to have a scholarship offered to students, they need to be weighted based on population. Because if you don't, minority students stand a much lower chance of getting those scholarships than white students who are the majority. Oh, one last thing that I left out when I was talking about the Reggie Howard Scholarship was that he died in 1976, his sophomore year, in a car accident, and this scholarship was set up in his name to help black students get an opportunity to go to Duke. Again, I think it's important that you know that. Well, anyway, this has been Doc for Diesel Punk Industries explaining why I believe we need minority scholarships. Thanks for watching, and as always, Crunchy White, Pimp Forever.
So this is all I got from this video, and I am going to ask this before I start saying whatever I have to say. Why is it that a scholarship that was set up, Duke ends full ride scholarship program for select black students in wake of affirmation action ruling? Why is it that this was actually set up for black people, right? And all of a sudden, they want to cut it off. I am asking, why are they cutting it off? And the worst part is that till this very moment, colored people are still not believing that there are the most people that they benefited, or they still benefit more than any other person when it comes to affirmative action. Because when this the affirmative action came out, and when they started talking about if it's gonna continue or not, because a lot of people, especially Asians, actually thought black people were the major beneficiaries or something, like they are benefiting more from it, knowing fully well that they are not. Black people are not the people benefiting more. Palm colored people are. And they talked about this, they talked about that, because they thought we are the ones blocking them from getting so many things and the rest of it. But the reality is that they forgot that, when sometimes when you're trying to do some certain thing, you shoot yourself on the, when you shoot yourself on the leg and all that, and you think you're trying to, be very, very horrible to other people and all that. Man, this is really very scary. And I keep asking it, what did black people do to them? Why are they so scared? Why are they so intimidated? Because I have seen a lot of people saying, a lot of them actually saying that, there are some prominent black people that I know that probably got into Harvard and all that, and they are not. One thing I love about them is that they are always open on how they got into the university, because I see a lot of them asking, was it not because of affirmative action that got into college and all that? And I love the fact that they're always very open about it. And the fact that every day wake up to some certain things about pop color people trying to attack black people, or looking for a way to really make things really hard for black people, is just something that I do not understand. And I keep asking, what did black people do to you people? Why are you all so scared? Why are you all threatened? Why are you all, they feel like we are just going to, because you all already know when you will come to nurses, doctors, surgeons, and all that, African Americans are really leading. Black people are leading. The United States and most other places, they are really doing great and amazingly well for themselves. So the best thing they can do is look for a way to crush some certain things so it doesn't favor them, because they think these are the only way that you all get into school. So why would you even at first, why would you even all get into college, or why would you even all graduate? So also for pilots, it's really amazing how they wake up. But the bottom line, I am going to say, the bottom line is that we black people, we must really start as much as we can looking out for one another, because all they are looking for a way to do is to strip some certain things off black people. The truth is that they really do not want you all to progress. They don't want you all to even lift your head. When you're trying to lift your head above the water level, all they want to do is just put it back for you. So they are looking for every possible way to, like, frustrate some people. But we cannot be discouraged and all that. So we really have to look out for one another, be there for one another, and try to do some certain things for one another. Black athletes also need to really wake up and stand united with one another, and let us be there for each other and watch how things change. Because sometimes I feel like when we do not stand up for ourselves, and also I see a lot of people, like also black athletes or big, all these celebrities and all that. Please, let's bring back some of our wealth home, because I see a lot of people taking away the wealth that you make out of black community. So how do you want some certain things to be better in black community? Everybody is looking for a change and all that. Are you going to be an agent of change, or you are going to be against the agent of change, or you are going to be part of the people that see when something good wants to happen to black people, you look for a way to block it and all that? So why not bring back most of all this charity, this thing that I see a lot of people doing outside and some places and all that? Let's start from our own house, because they say charity starts at home, right? So if we don't do it in our own houses, like, and all that, how do you want us to, like, raise our head above the water level? And also, I think there is need. Maybe we, like, really need to invest in HBSU, right? HBCU. So I think we really need to invest more and put athletes that bring them money, like, so that we will see a lot of money being pumped into some certain things that got to do with us, especially schools and all that. By that, we are going to bring ourselves together and, like, keep us and all that. So yeah, I'd really, like, it's really amazing how they, like, all of a sudden do not think. But I think, is there no need for, like, they really need to be sued? Because why did they wake up to cut the legacy program and scholarship? Because this was actually set up for black people. Why are they cutting it off? And the person that actually did that is no longer alive. So why are they cutting it off? Oh, so this is not like ended the ride, full ride scholarship for athletes, right? So let me know what you all think in the comment section, and see you all in my next video. Bye for now.